Welcome back to The Other Opinion. You ready for this? We're going to do a deep dive today into something I think we all use every single day, but probably don't think about too much money.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at its evolution from, way back when people are bartering chickens to, today's kind of crazy world of digital currency. So we'll be uncovering, kind of how money works, the power of trust and value, and really how human behavior shapes, the whole concept of money.
Right.
So make sure if you're enjoying this to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and share this deep dive with your friends. Help us get those other opinions flowing.
Yeah, it really is quite a fascinating journey, and it reveals a lot about, how ingenious humans are and our constant need to exchange goods and services and how we've kind of created systems to do that.
Okay, so let's rewind all the way back, to before cash, to before coins, to before credit cards. What was life like in a world without, the money that we know today?
Yeah, well, imagine a world where you had to barter for everything you needed, right? So if you're a farmer and you need some tools, you'd have to trade a bushel of wheat to the blacksmith for his tools.
Right. So that sounds incredibly inconvenient. I can already see how many things could go wrong.
Exactly.
What if the blacksmith doesn't need wheat?
Exactly. That's the classic problem of the double coincidence of wants,
Right.
Where both parties need to have something the other one desires, and that just limits the potential for trade.
Right.
Plus, imagine storing a cow or trying to divide it into smaller units of value.
Yeah.
It just gets really complicated.
Makes you appreciate the convenience of just having a currency, right?
Absolutely.
That everyone accepts. But before we got to that, the source material mentions something fascinating about collectibles as currency. So people were using things like shells, beads, feathers, even stones as money. And it's just so incredible to think about these everyday items, having this kind of value back then. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it really highlights how important that shared belief is in any kind of monetary system.
Yeah.
These objects, they might not have had inherent usefulness like food or tools, but because the communities all agreed upon their worth, that collective trust, that's what gave them value.
Okay, that makes sense. But I'm guessing this system wasn't without its flaws. Were there any downsides to using collectibles as money?
Oh, for sure. Imagine if all of a sudden everyone had access to tons of those special shells that were being used as money.
Right.
Their value would just plummet, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem with collectibles. They're really susceptible to counterfeiting and to inflation if they become too abundant. Also, their value was often really subjective and varied between different communities, which just made trade more complicated. And, I think it's a great illustration of why we really needed a more stable form of currency that everybody recognizes as money.
Yeah, that's so true. So speaking of stability, that kind of brings us to the rise of gold. What propelled it to become the dominant form of money for centuries?
Well, gold has a lot of really key characteristics that made it just the ideal form of money, at least for a long time. It's scarce, so it's not readily available everywhere. It's durable, it doesn't easily corrode or decay. You can divide it up into smaller units. And it also has an intrinsic value because it's used in jewelry, right?
Right.
So people already desired it. They already saw it as precious, which helped with its adoption.
I can see how gold's properties and kind of its inherent allure really played a significant role in it being adopted as money. But, can you imagine carrying around sacks of gold to buy groceries? Not super practical?
Yeah, you're right. It's not very practical at all.
It's not. So that impracticality paved the way for a revolutionary development, paper money.
That's right.
And this marked a monumental leap of faith for humanity.
It really did.
People started trusting pieces of paper to represent value. That's wild. How did that even work?
Well, in the beginning, those paper notes that represented money were directly backed by gold reserves, so you could actually exchange them for a fixed amount of gold
Oh, okay.
that was held by banks. So essentially, it was like a promise on paper, a way to build trust in this new form of money that wasn't tangible like gold.
So it was like a portable IOU for gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense how that would ease the transition. It still must have been a huge psychological shift for people to accept a piece of paper as a representation of value
It
then.
was a huge shift.
Yeah.
Money became more abstract. It relied more on trust in these institutions like banks.
Yeah.
And that brings us up to a pivotal moment in history in 1971 when the US dollar was decoupled from gold. And that's when we entered the fiat money era.
Fiat money. Okay, what does that mean for us in simple terms?
So basically, the money that we use today, it's not tied to any physical commodity like gold.
Okay.
It's just a promise from the government, and it's backed by their authority and the strength of the economy.
Wow. So the value of our money, like, depends on trust in the government
Yeah.
and the overall economy. That's a lot of faith.
It is, and it raises questions about inflation
Right.
and economic stability
Yeah.
because, governments now have the power to print money freely, which can have both positive and negative consequences.
Okay, so we went from bartering to gold-backed paper, and now we're in the age of government-backed promises. What an evolution. Hold on. All right, deep dive isn't over yet. We're about to enter the digital age.
That's right.
Make sure you're subscribed and tell your friends about the other opinions so they don't miss out. What happens next?
Okay, well, with, the advent of credit cards and online banking and digital payment systems, money has become increasingly intangible. It mostly exists as numbers on a screen now.
Wow, that's a huge shift from the tangible forms of money we were just talking about. What are some of the key implications of this digital revolution?
Well, it's brought us incredible convenience,
Right.
but it's also introduced some new challenges.
Okay.
And it all boils down to how banks operate, using a system called fractional reserve banking.
Fractional reserve banking. I've heard that term before, but it sounds a bit complicated.
It can be.
Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, sure. So let's say you deposit $100 in a bank. They might only keep like $10 of that in reserve. And then they lend out the remaining $90 to someone else.
Okay.
And this lending, creates this ripple effect because the borrower might then deposit that $90 into another bank,
Right.
which then lends out a portion of that and so on and so on.
So they're essentially creating money based on just a fraction of the actual deposits.
In a way, yes. And this system, it really amplifies economic activity,
Right.
but it also carries some inherent risks.
Oh, well, what kind of risks?
Well, imagine if everyone suddenly decided to withdraw all their money from a bank all at the same time.
Yeah.
The bank might not actually have enough in reserve to fulfill all those requests, and that could lead to the bank collapsing.
Yeah.
That's the risk of a bank run.
That sounds terrifying.
It can be.
So fractional reserve banking definitely introduces like a level of vulnerability to the financial system.
It does.
Okay, so we went from bartering to gold to government promises, and now we're grappling with digital money and all this potential for instability. What a wild ride. Buckle up, though, because we're about to explore a topic that's even more revolutionary. Bitcoin.
Yes.
Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve into the world of cryptocurrency and what it means for the future of money.
Welcome back to The Other Opinion. Get ready because we're going to explore a topic that's really shaking things up in the world of money. Bitcoin.
Okay, I'm all ears. Bitcoin. What exactly is Bitcoin? It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It kind of is in a way. So Bitcoin is a digital currency, but it's unlike any currency that we've seen before.
Okay,
And it operates on this revolutionary technology called a blockchain,
right.
which allows for, secure and transparent transactions without any kind of central authority.
No central authority. So no banks, no governments controlling it. That's a radical concept. How does that even work?
Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah, Bitcoin is controlled by a decentralized network of users, not by any one single entity.
So it's almost like a digital democracy of money.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends. They need to hear this. But, I bet some people are wondering how something with no physical form, right? Like it's all just code.
Right.
How can that actually have value?
Well, that's what makes it so innovative, right? So Bitcoin's value, it comes from that decentralized network that we were talking
Okay.
about. It's limited supply. Only 21 million Bitcoin will ever exist.
Right.
And just the trust that people have placed in this new technology.
So it's almost like a digital gold, scarce, durable, and valuable because people agree that it is.
Exactly.
Okay, but how does it actually work in practice? Can you give us like a simple explanation of this blockchain technology?
Sure. So imagine like a public ledger that everybody can see.
And this ledger records every single Bitcoin transaction, making it transparent and secure.
Okay.
That ledger is the blockchain, and it's constantly being updated and verified by a network of computers all over the world.
Wow.
And this decentralized system is really what ensures that no single person or entity can control or manipulate Bitcoin.
That's fascinating. So it's like a global tamper-proof record of every single Bitcoin transaction.
Exactly.
Okay, no wonder people are so excited about the potential of this blockchain.
Right.
But let's get back to Bitcoin itself. How does it stack up against, the traditional forms of money?
Okay, well let's compare it to, gold, paper money, fiat currency.
Sounds like a showdown. Okay, I'm ready for
All
this.
right, so like gold, Bitcoin is scarce
Right.
and it's durable. It's, not going anywhere as long as the internet exists. But unlike gold, it's incredibly portable
Right.
and divisible. You can send tiny fractions of a Bitcoin anywhere in the world, instantly.
That's a game changer. No more lugging around those heavy gold bars
Yeah, no more heavy gold bars.
or waiting like days for bank transfers.
Exactly.
What other advantages does Bitcoin offer?
Well, one of the biggest ones is that it's censorship resistant.
Okay, what does that mean?
So that means no one can freeze your Bitcoin
Okay.
or prevent you from sending it to somebody else.
Whoa. So even if like governments or banks try to intervene,
Right.
they can't touch your Bitcoin.
They can't.
That's like a whole new level of financial freedom.
It is.
Okay, what are your thoughts on this, folks? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and it's all because you control your Bitcoin through these things called private keys,
Okay.
which are like these secret passwords that prove ownership.
Okay.
So as long as you keep those private keys safe,
Right.
no one can access your funds,
So it's like having your own personal digital vault.
pretty much.
Yeah, I can see why this is appealing, especially in places with political or economic instability.
Right.
But let's be real. Bitcoin has also been known for its volatility, right? Like its price can fluctuate dramatically, which can be scary for some investors.
Yeah.
What do you think about Bitcoin's long-term potential?
I think it has the potential to revolutionize finance. As more people and institutions adopt it, its price could stabilize, and I think its benefits will become more and more apparent.
Okay.
It's still a relatively young technology, and we're only just beginning to kind of scratch the surface of what it can do.
So we have this revolutionary technology that's shaking up the world of money. What does it all mean for the future? This is where I need your expert insights.
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Bitcoin really challenges the very foundations of traditional finance.
Yeah.
And it forces us to rethink, what is trust, what is value, and even, systems of governance.
Right.
So, could decentralized systems like Bitcoin actually reshape the future of finance?
Right.
Could it lead to a more equitable and accessible financial system for everyone? These are all questions worth exploring.
Oh, those are thought-provoking questions. This deep dive has been a wild ride through the history of money, and it feels like we've arrived at the frontier of financial innovation.
Yeah, we have.
I'm so curious to see what happens next. But hey, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a step back and recap this incredible journey that we've been on. Don't forget to like and subscribe to The Other Opinion for more mind-blowing deep dives. What are some key takeaways our listeners should keep in mind?
Okay. Well, we started with bartering, simple but inefficient, right?
Right.
Then we explored collectibles as currency, a step towards abstraction,
Right.
but with its own limitations. Then we saw how gold emerged as the dominant form of money for centuries
Right.
because of its scarcity and its inherent value.
Gold, so shiny, so valuable, but so heavy to carry around.
Yes, very heavy.
It's no wonder that paper money eventually took center stage.
Yeah, it was a game changer, initially representing that promise of gold held in reserve.
Right.
But then came that pivotal moment in 1971 when the US dollar was decoupled from gold, giving rise to the era of fiat money,
Right.
those government-backed promises that really underpin our current financial system.
And now we have Bitcoin, a decentralized digital currency challenging the very foundations of traditional finance. It's a radical idea that has the potential to just disrupt everything, from bartering chickens to these invisible digital currencies. What a journey.
It is.
I'm still processing all this information, folks.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Don't forget to tell us what you think about this episode of The Other Opinion and share it with your friends.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
What other thoughts should our listeners be pondering after this deep dive?
Well, it's crucial to recognize that the future of money is still being written, right? It's up to each of us to really understand these changes and how they might impact our lives. What role will cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin play in our future? How will decentralized finance reshape the financial landscape?
Yeah,
These are all questions worth exploring.
so true. We've got a lot to think about. But hey, that's the beauty of the other opinion, right?
Right.
We're here to explore these big questions and spark those thought-provoking conversations. This deep dive has definitely left me with a lot to ponder. So let's shift gears now and dive into a topic that's closely related to Bitcoin and its potential impact on the future of finance. Decentralized finance, or DeFi.
Right.
Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for part 3.
Welcome back to The Other Opinion. We've come a long way, haven't we?
We have. From bartering to Bitcoin, it's been a wild ride.
It really has. But we're not done yet. We've got one more stop on this journey. We're going to dive into something called decentralized finance, or DeFi.
DeFi. Okay, so that sounds like something straight out of like a cyberpunk novel. It's fascinating, but I got to admit, it's a little bit overwhelming. Can you break it down for us? What exactly is DeFi and like how does it actually work?
Yeah, so imagine a world where you can access all those financial services that we rely on, like lending and borrowing and trading, but you don't have to go through those traditional banks. That's the promise of DeFi. It uses that blockchain technology that we talked about with Bitcoin to create this like decentralized financial system that anyone can access as long as they have an internet connection.
So no more like dealing with bank fees or waiting forever to get approved for loans or hitting those limits based on your location or credit score.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty empowering.
It is.
But how does this decentralized system actually ensure like security and trust?
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty major concern when you're talking about people's finances.
Of course, and that's where smart contracts come in. They're like self-executing contracts written in code that automate those financial agreements. So let's say you want to borrow some cryptocurrency, right?
Okay.
With DeFi, you could use a lending platform that's completely run by these smart contracts. So they handle everything, determining the interest rates, managing the collateral and repayments, everything. And because it's all on the blockchain, it's all transparent and auditable. So you can really minimize that risk of like fraud or manipulation.
That's incredible. It sounds like DeFi could really democratize finance and give, everyday people more control over their money.
That's the idea.
So what are some of the most like exciting applications of DeFi that we're seeing right now?
Oh, there's a ton of innovation happening in areas like decentralized lending and borrowing, these things called stable coins, and then decentralized exchanges or debt scuffs.
Okay.
Those are really interesting because they let people trade cryptocurrencies directly with each other.
Okay.
So they cut out the middleman.
Right. No more centralized exchanges.
Exactly. It reduces fees, it increases transparency. It's really a more peer-to-peer kind of model.
Sounds like DeFi is really opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
It is.
But as with any, emerging technology, I'm sure there are challenges and risks too, right?
Oh, of course.
So what are some of the things that we need to be thinking about?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is security, right? So while that blockchain technology is inherently secure, smart contracts are only as good as the code that they're written with. So if there's like bugs or vulnerabilities in those smart contracts, that could lead to financial losses.
Right.
And then regulation is another challenge. The decentralized nature of DeFi makes it really difficult for traditional regulatory frameworks to apply. So there are questions about investor protection and just financial stability in general.
Those are definitely important factors to consider. It seems like DeFi is still, in those early stages of development.
It is.
And there's a lot of, refinement that still needs to happen. But the potential for disruption is pretty undeniable. It's definitely a space to watch.
It is. It really is.
It would be interesting to see how DeFi kind of evolves and how it interacts with the more traditional financial systems that we're all used to.
Yeah, could we see a future where they both coexist?
Yeah.
Each offering their own unique advantages? That's a great question.
That is a great question. Well, hey, folks, this deep dive has been incredible. We've explored the evolution of money from bartering to Bitcoin, and now we've gotten this glimpse into the future with DeFi. It's just mind-blowing to think about how far we've come and all those possibilities that lie ahead.
It is.
So what are some key takeaways that you want our listeners to remember as they kind of continue their own exploration of the financial world? Don't forget to like and subscribe to The Other Opinion and share this episode with your friends. We want to get as many other opinions out there as possible.
Well, I think the key takeaway is that the world of money is constantly changing, right? New technologies and ideas are emerging all the time, and they're challenging how we think about value and trust and control.
Right.
It's crucial to, stay informed, question assumptions, and be open to those alternative perspectives.
I couldn't agree more. And remember, folks, this was an AI-powered podcast episode.
That's right.
And While we strive to provide accurate information, it's always best to do your own research and form your own other opinions.
Well said.
So the future of finance is really a collaborative journey, right?
It
By
is.
exploring different ideas and just being open to having these conversations,
Right.
we can hopefully shape a financial system that benefits everyone.
I think so too.
That's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the evolution of money. We hope it sparked your curiosity and inspired you to think differently about the role that money plays in all our lives. Keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and keep those other opinions flowing. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a fascinating topic. Until then, stay curious.